Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Check this out, y'all. You got three juveniles that get in trouble. One of them's 14, two of them are 15, right? And they get caught up in the juvenile justice system for an armed robbery that they committed. All three of them end up getting 3 years in juvenile, right? 3 years in juvenile. And while they are there, they join a gang, the same gang, all three of them, just so they can survive the experience. They did not have the intentions of being involved in gang activities, but while they were there, they decided to join a gang so that they could make it through because of the pressure that was being applied to them while they were there, right? Now, what's interesting is that this is something that takes place a lot when people go to juvenile, but I don't think a lot of people are aware of it. But I'm going to tell you their story and what happened to them as their life progressed as they got older. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this show, y'all. Like I said in the intro, right? You got three juveniles, right? They get caught up in the juvenile justice system for an armed robbery that they committed. They decided, one night after they had snuck out of the house, their parents are work. One of the parents had worked, the other one is asleep because she worked during the day, so she's getting her rest at night, like most people do. They sleep at night, but these kids, they all decided to sneak out, meet up, and go commit an armed robbery. Well, they got caught. They got caught committing the armed robbery. They all end up in juvenile detention. Their parents have to be called from work and at home to come pick them up, and they do. And then they have to appear in court. Well, when they appeared in court, the judge didn't waste any time. The juvenile system is a little bit different than the adult system, right? They move a little bit faster, right? But they ended up within a couple of months of being caught. They were sentenced to do 3 years in juvenile detention, all three of them. Keep in mind now, one of them 14, two of them 15, never been away from their families like that, had been in trouble, but not locked up, not that type of trouble. Being late getting home. No crimes, though. No crimes. Now, again, keep in mind, I know a lot of kids out there in and out of juvie, in and out of juvie, and that does happen, but these individuals, they had not been in and out of juvie, and that's not what I want you to focus on. What I want you to focus on is the process of what happened to them when they get caught up in it. So whether you're in and out of juvie, things that happen to you, that progression that happens to you along the route, of becoming a criminal, are unique in a lot of ways, but they're the same for all the juveniles, whether you're one time or first timer or a multiple offender when it comes to uh, the juvenile system, right? But anyway, these three individuals, right, all friends, end up getting 3 years in juvenile. So they're sent away, separated from their families. Now, in juvenile, they are in what they call a detention center, and they eventually end up getting sent to a place where they have a room where they all were fortunate enough to be able to stay together, but they were with a lot of other guys, a lot of other kids at the juvenile facility. Now, sometime within that first year of them joining, they end up being convinced to join the gang, right? They're going to school. They take them to school. They do all the activities at school. Now, see, juveniles are a little different again than the adult system. They still go to like a public school in most cases. Uh, so they leave the prison, so to speak, and go to school, then come back that afternoon or whatever. So they are still able to participate in some of the things that go on in society, but they are removed and oftentimes are in another city away from their family members. So they're going to school and they're participating, and now in this school that they're uh, all going to, it's a lot of gang activity. Keep in mind, these young men are sentenced in juvenile detention, but they're going to a public school that has a lot of gang activity. They have a lot of gang activity going on in the facility that they're in, so they become pressured to join the gang, right? Because they're doing a lot of fighting to try to make it through. They're doing a lot of fighting to make it through. Now, two of them pretty good at fighting. The younger one isn't. So they make sure that they protect the young guy. The two older ones, which is just 1 year older, they protect the young guy. And they all coast through this thing in the sense that, as best you can, coast through. Let me say that right, because saying that they coast through this experience is probably not the best choice of words, right? But they survive the experience year after year. Now they're learning. They all go through the process. They get their GEDs. They, like most kids, they're breaking some rules, following others, getting in a lot of fights with other people at the institution, other people at the school, and they're experiencing a lot of homesickness. They want to go home. They get visits from their parents on the weekends, and their parents are working class people. They come when they can. They're not rich. They can't come every weekend, but they come when they can. And then they call. They talk to their parents on the phone. They talk to their other siblings. They have brothers and sisters. Now, it's really taking a toll on the 14-year-old. The two 15-year-olds, they're a little bit more mature than he is, and they have a little bit more experience in the streets. And when I say in the streets, I don't mean hanging in the streets. I'm talking about as far as handling circumstances. That 1 year made all the difference when it came to how it affected them versus the 14-year-old. And he wants to go home, but he cannot go home. And that's something that a lot of kids do not realize. Once you get sentenced to doing time in a juvenile facility, you got to do that time. They don't care nothing about you crying. They don't care nothing about you being homesick. They try to talk to you different than they do with us in an adult facility. But at the end of the day, you're not leaving. It's no going home because you miss moms or pops. You're staying there. So the 14-year-old is having a very, very, very hard time in dealing with it. And his newfound gang family isn't helping the situation because they make him feel like he's weak, you're scared, you're a baby. So now he starts to develop behaviors that are more aggressive to prove that he isn't a little baby, that he can make it. And they take advantage of that by sending him out. And when I say send him out, they have him doing all kind of nonsense. Fighting somebody head up, one-on-one by himself that's probably outweighing him by 50, 60 pounds and taller than him by several inches. But he's a scrapper. He's learning. He's not winning, but he's learning. But he's also learning that there's another option to life. And he learns that he has a love for reading and a big love for math. And one of the teachers at the school that he's at is taking notice to that. He's very intelligent. The other two are smart too, but he has this knack for math. So one day she asked him, what is it that you want to do with your life? And he said he's not sure. He's never thought about it like that. And now a year has gone by, okay? I'm going to back up in the story because I told you they all graduated, and I wish I wouldn't have told you that so early. But anyway, you already know that, so just follow the story. A year goes by, and she asked him, what do you want to do with your life? And he told her he hadn't really thought about that. And she said, with your love for math, you can do anything. So she mentions to him about learning to write code, computer code, programming. He has no clue what that is. He has no idea what that is, but he takes to this teacher because he's missing his mom. And she becomes somebody that he looks up to. And he's looking forward to going to school every day, but he also has to balance that with making sure that his newfound gang family doesn't see him as somebody that is weak. He's struggling. He's straddling the fence. So when he's at school, he's focused and he's locked in. And he's learning. Now, they don't go to class after class at this school where he was at, as far as what I was told. So he's with this teacher every day, all day. And she teaches the different subjects. you know, and his love for math is growing. So she starts to challenge him with harder and harder problems, and he's getting it. He stumbles at first, but he's getting it. Now she starts to talk to him more about coding and what that means, and explaining to him how apps work and how phones work and programming and what that means, and he's starting to get it. He's starting to get it. Now his other two friends that were there, they're doing good in school, but they focus more on the gang side of things. They're locked into that. So they do enough to get by, but they go all out when it comes to the gang activities. Acting out in class, being disrespectful to the teacher, not wanting to do because the other ones don't want to do. They want to get along with the others, so they go along with that negative behavior. While the younger one is over here reading and writing and studying and learning and enjoying it, they're not. They're just doing it because that's what they are required to do. It's not sinking in. Year two, she introduces the younger one and the other two. All the whole class gets to introduce to what they call, it's like they have mentors that come into the class that try to teach them and bond with them, different things, open them up to new things in life. So they go on a field trip. And check this out. I wish they had this for adults, in the institution. So they go on a field trip and they go to a science lab. And this younger one, he is blown away by all the exhibits that they have, and the teacher, she's right there with him, and she's explaining to him how the math that she's been teaching him applies to this particular exhibit and that particular exhibit. Because when he was talking to me about it, he was blown away. He was blown away, explaining it to me. And I'm going to tell you how I ended up talking to him. You're going to be fascinated at that part of the story. Because this story came to me by way of the two older ones, not the younger one. Check this out. Just stay tuned, okay? So, as he's learning all of these things and how to apply what he's learning, he's starting to become more and more intoxicated with math. He's drinking the Kool-Aid. Why? Because he's been opened up to a whole new world that he hadn't been shown before. He's seeing things that he would never have had the opportunity because of the circumstances that he allowed himself to be put in. Not his parents, not the teachers at the school that he was in before he got locked up, even though he's a child. He allowed himself to be opened up to that. Now again, we rely on our parents and our teachers to guide us, but in this situation, he still made some choices that went against what his parents had taught him. So they're in the last year of their incarceration, and they graduate. And the younger one is offered an opportunity to go to community college, 2-year college. And he decides that he wants to go. He wants to become a programmer. Imagine that. Now, the older two, they're offered the same opportunity. 2 years of free education. And they say they'll look into it. So when they get out, the younger one, his parents, they get him enrolled in community college and he's going. The other two, they are more interested in hanging around with their gang brothers. They're skipping out on their responsibilities because, when they left the institution, they helped them get jobs until they decided what they wanted to do. They're not even showing up at the jobs. They're totally committed to the gang life, selling drugs, running the streets, doing all this. And their parents are just tired of it. They've done the best they can. They've been there for them. So guess what? They went in when they were 15. They're 18 now, these two. They got a few more months before they, pass that threshold of, you grown now. They got to get out. Both of the families put them out. Now the younger one, his parents they're ecstatic because the young one is in college doing well and is prospering. He's growing. He loves what he's doing. And you already know what happened. The older two, they end up getting caught up on another armed robbery. They end up getting caught up on another armed robbery. But now they're grown. And here we go. Off to prison they go. They are both sentenced to 12 years for armed robbery. It was another charge. I want to say it was kidnapping, but I don't think it was that. Because I don't think they got charged with kidnapping. But anyway, when they were breaking it down to me, they had two charges. They had two charges. And I'm sorry that I don't remember exactly what that was now. But anyway, I apologize to y'all for that. I usually like to have all my facts in a row. Well, it's slipping my mind right now. But they both end up with 12 years in prison. 12 years in prison. And that's when they meet me. And they were telling me this story. How all three of them ended up locked up. And how they had an opportunity to do and be anything that they wanted to be. Now, keep in mind, they are totally committed to the lifestyle that they're living now. Because guess what? They're GD. And that's how they met me. But when they came into the system, they had to be re-blessed because all of that nonsense that they had done in juvenile, it wasn't correctly done. So we went through this process to so-called get it correctly done. But as I listened to them, at the time, keeping it real, my mind wasn't right. I was lost in the sauce as well. But I did tell them one day we were talking, and they were calling the younger one stupid and all soft and all this and that, and how, he went off to college and all that kind of stuff and abandoned him after they protected him when he was in juvenile. They were angry and upset at him. And I told them, "No, you wrong for that. You had the same opportunity he had, and you chose this." I said, make the best of it. And even when I was saying that to them, I knew that I was giving them mixed advice. You can't make the best of a negative lifestyle. How you make the best of a negative lifestyle is to get out of it. You know what I'm saying? But I continued to listen to them, because they were still young, and I'm talking to them. And so one day, they had this young man on the phone. They called me to the phone, and I'm on the phone talking to him because keep in mind, he thought he was still a gangster disciple. And I'm talking to him on the phone. He's saying, "What's up, folks?" All this and all that, right? And I'm talking to him as if everything is everything. And I'm telling him, "Man, I'm proud of you. I don't know you. Keep doing what you're doing." And we talked on the phone for about 10 minutes that time, but I talked to him several more times after that. And this young man finished those 2 years of college while they finished 2 years of prison. And then he went off to college to get his bachelor. That was his associate. Now he's finna go get his bachelor in computer programming. And now they're upset in here with rocks in their jaws at this time at him because he can't send them money. He's a college student. He's a college student. So he's in college, living the college experience and enjoying this. So one day they call and his girlfriend answers the phone. And they try to talk slick to her, this. And so he gets on the phone and tells them, "Don't talk to her like that. This my girlfriend, this, and that." They want to talk tough to him, so he hangs up the phone. They call back, he accepts. He's letting them know, "I'm not putting up with that." They back down at that time, but they really don't like it. So they go to some other brothers that's within the organization and try to get them to go to the college and put some pressure on him. And we didn't know anything about it, the leadership, and they do. They go down there and try to put their foot on his neck, talk crazy to him, slap him around. And when I found out about it, I put them in the rack. Because I told them, I said, one, you're not going to use the org for that. Two, You know what I'm saying? You trying to mess that boy's life up because he don't believe in the same thing you believe in. He ain't doing the same thing that you're doing. I said, the next time you say or do anything to him, you better be apologizing to him and telling him that you're proud of him. Because if I hear anything else about anything that you're doing to that boy, I'm going to strip you and then you're leaving the compound. And you won't be out on another compound the whole time you're in the penitentiary. Then when you do get out, I'm going to make sure something happens to you. How about that? Since you want to act grown, let's play grown. They look at me all spooked because they don't understand what's really going on. They were so upset that they had thrown their lives away. They wanted to ruin his. And I wasn't going to let that happen. I'm still sending mixed messages, but I know what this is. Because I should have gotten out then myself, but I didn't. So I'm partly to blame in this having one foot in and one foot out. Because I set the wrong example for a whole lot of people at that time. Just because I was doing legal stuff, I'm still telling them that I believe in this lifestyle to the extent that my behavior expressed that. I wasn't feeling it in my heart, but I was feeling it in my head. I felt like I had to do it. So I kept doing it until I couldn't do it no more. I couldn't stomach it no more. So this young brother graduates. Now he's got his bachelor's degree in computer science, computer programming. And guess what? The young man gets a job working from home on the computer for Google. Blew me away. Blew me away. I didn't even know him like that, but I talked to him a few times. I was so proud of him. I was so proud of him that I just had no words for it. He'd had some trouble in his life. He was given an opportunity. That teacher, man, you gotta love him. She saw something and she grabbed him. She grabbed him. And because he was missing his mama, I don't know what it was. I guess he imprinted something and she became his mother figure. And he listened to everything she said. And then at the graduation, she came to his graduation from college and he introduced her. He called her his inside mama and he introduced her to his outside mama. And then when he was telling me this story, it was like he was excited. And the girl that he had met in college, he's still with her as far as I know. She's doing great. But the two that were on the inside, they kept going down, down, down. Until one day, they found themselves in a situation where they had hit bottom. They had hit bottom. And they came to, well, they didn't come to me first. They went to one of the other brothers. And they were talking to him, my COS at the time, about, how they had messed up and wish they could do it all over again. So, they were still a little mad at me because I talked crazy to them. But anyway, I ended up talking to them about turning it around. And I told them that any time in your life that you realize the steps, the path that you had taken was the wrong one, you can turn it around. You got to realize, and they had gotten to that point where they realized. Now keep in mind, when they came into the system, they were 19. They had 12 years to do. They were going to get some time off for good behavior. So add about 8 years to that. Add about 8 years to that. You know what I'm saying? And that would put them at what, 37, 38 years old? 36, 37, something like that, when they got out. And it wouldn't be too late then. And they did get out. And they turned it around. They worked. And now, a couple of them, from what I hear, they went to college, but they dropped out. It wasn't for them. They tried it. One out of the two tried it, if I'm not mistaken. But they haven't been back to prison. And the animosity that they had towards that young man, their friend, it's all gone. And all three of them are out there today. So why am I telling you this story? Because we got a lot of juvenile crime going on out there. And we got a lot of people that are doing a lot of things for the wrong reasons. But what I say to you is don't give up on them. Give them every opportunity and benefit of the doubt that you can muster, because they have no clue. You got to look at it like this. They can only understand what they understand to the capacity that they have to understand. Their minds are not as advanced as yours. So when they hear or see all of the things that's going on, they can only process that with what they know, which is limited. And then they conclude these certain scenarios or these certain constructs based off of what they see and hear in a negative way, usually what's been given to them. You do this, you see it this way, and they accept that without question. We don't have any critical thinking going on when it comes to joining gangs or committing a crime. No critical thinking, because there are plenty of examples of what happened to people that commit crimes. They go to prison, go to jail, or get killed. There's plenty of examples of what happened to people in gangs. They go to jail, go to prison, or get killed. It's as simple as that. But the critical thinking that should be on the front end of that is not being applied, because they joined the gang because they were afraid. They wanted to survive. They wanted to survive the experience in juvenile. So that fear, it just overruled any critical thinking that they even would know to apply. It was stronger than the morals that their families had taught them. They were in a system that didn't allow for a safe space for them to say no. We say it does, but it doesn't. I'm telling you, it doesn't. So when you find your child in a system like that, help create that safe space for them to make the right decisions, because it's going to be vital to their success. And if they don't get it, don't give up on them. Don't give up on them. It may take some time, but eventually it works out. For the most part, anyway. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.